Hello. Welcome to another Live at Lunch virtual tour, which, due to my scheduling mistake, is now live after lunch. Hope you'll forgive us for that. As the days grow shorter and the night seems to grow darker, we're getting in the Halloween spirit here at the Kentucky Historical Society. So today we're going to chew on mourning practices of the Victorian era with Museums Programs Coordinator James. We're here in the main exhibition of the Kentucky History Center and in the historic downtown Frankfort. And we'll catch up with James in the Victorian parlor in just a moment. My name is Greg, and during the tour, I'll act as your voice. So just ask your questions in the comment section, and I'll share your questions with James. While you enjoy, we'll share bite-sized history and let you know about some exciting and upcoming programming. Be sure to let us know where you're watching from and post your questions in the comments. Here's a little thought to nibble on. Does your family have an interesting mourning tradition that you would like to share? Now, let's meet James and dig up the mourning traditions of the past.
Hello. So the Victorian era, from about the middle of the 1830s up until about the 20th century, was marked with a development and the use of very extensive mourning practices. So this was really highlighted by Queen Victoria herself, which she ended up mourning for basically the rest of her life after the death of Prince Albert. And so some of these traditions were simple, some were complex, some were strange, and so we're going to cover kind of a lot of those different things. So
I think our audience usually really likes the strange stuff, so that's good.
Yeah, so we'll dive into the strange after we dive into the pretty normal stuff. So the Victorian, this display case in our Civil War section has a lot of items that are connected to mourning culture. So women had a very structured plan of mourning. So they'd be in mourning for around 2 years after the death of their loved one. And for the first year and a half of that would have to be and basically all black. So there were mourning clothes for all of their different daily occasions that they'd have to be using for that. So veils, fans, gloves. But then as the year and a half would wind down, they would transition to a second stage of mourning where they were allowed to wear grays and lavenders. This was different than the men who would simply be able to wear a black armband, a black headband, just some piece of black accessory to their regular outfit, and would be basically back to life as usual.
So that's unlike, women. They had to change their entire wardrobe. I can't even imagine what it would be like to have to purchase or make an entire wardrobe as opposed to a man just adding an accessory.
Yeah. And so that's one of the big disparities through the time, and it's one of the things of women had a lot more of a private role in society at that point in time, and so they were expected, there's different expectations placed on them. These mourning practices also transition into artwork and some other eerie and strange to us traditions. And so we're going to go over to the Victorian parlor section of our exhibit, and we're going to look at a piece of artwork that has its roots in the mourning practices, but then turns into just a artistic expression of memory for the families. So we'll let Greg get up in here and highlight this. So if you are seeing this and have a guess as to what this intricate artwork is made from, you can post it in the comments, and we'll give it a little bit of time for that.
It's really interesting because here often I don't get to have a light this close to this. And the detail and the colors, James, are something that even we don't get to see as staff very often. The bright color oranges and blues on the threads. You can really see a lot of detail. Oh, look at the orange. The yellow and the green. Look at that. And now, Obviously this looks like a flower kind of a shape, right?
Yeah, so it looks like a flower,
But it is not
except it
made
is
of.
not made out of flowers, and it's not made out of regular thread or um, yarn of any artificial source. So it's not cotton, it's not wool, but this is made out of human hair.
Okay, so our viewers that are watching now, uh, you're getting a really close-up look here of a piece of artwork that is actually made out of different colors and strands of hair. You can see blonde hair, you can see gray hair and brunette, but you also can see all of these little beads, which I assume those are a kind of a bead, little blue beads, little orange and yellow. Can you see those? The
Yeah,
detail?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
really
So
cool.
there's a lot going on in here. And this one specifically was created by the Threckled Cardwell family out in Shelby County, and it was Mary Cardwell and her five sisters that created this hair wreath. And we also have another one of their families' hair wreaths in our collections, and it's got the different hair is from the different people of the family. So the grays are for the grandparent generation, and then some of the other ones are for the different hairs from all the other family members. So in the other one that we've got of theirs, there is three generations of hair, and so I'd assume that it is likely that this has all three generations of hair, but grandparent generation, parent generation, and then the 12 kids of the Threckled family, which is 6 daughters and 6 sons. And so this practice initially, and the practice of taking hair samples was originally done in mourning, where it would be act as a memento to remember somebody from as they had passed, especially when you're thinking about the middle of the 1800s, before there's photography readily available. People would be in order to remember somebody. If you can't have a photograph, if you can't have a portrait, if you weren't able to afford that, you could keep some of their hair. So we have different pieces of hair from in our collections that are connected to mourning practices. We also have different pieces of jewelry that were eventually created. So there was a large collection of, or a large tradition of creating these bracelets, of earrings, of different things like that, in order to remember somebody who had passed away. But also, eventually that turns into just a sign of remembrance of family members. So this wouldn't have necessarily been that all of the family members who had contributed had died, but it could have started that way. One thing in the shape of it is that a lot of the traditional ones would start and be a horseshoe shape, so horseshoe shape opening up, which would symbolize catching good luck. And as time goes on, the shape of it kind of is up for interpretation. There's different ones, like this one's got the collection of the flowers in the middle as well as the horseshoe shape, but there's also ones that are shaped just kind of like bouquets or something along that lines.
So I know you've got a little hands-on element that we've shared with students before.
Yeah, so we have, as a part of our teaching collection, a couple of hairpins that were created using hair and
So
stuff. So this would be kind of similar to another facet of that, and that in popular culture as well.
it's kind of like a little brooch. You could put it on in your hair, or I guess you could put it on your clothing, in a hat, something like that, right?
Yeah, so it could go. This one's a hairpin, so it would keep your hair up and looking nice all day long. And as you can see, there's a lot of loops. So in the construction of these things, they would intertwine the wire and the looping using a needle to loop around and create each individual loop that would have
And this one's
that
had
has the different
25
hairs.
years of children touching it, so it's got quite a bit of
Yeah, so
damage to it. But
this one looks like a flower at one point.
but you can definitely see point out the wire just a little
Yeah,
bit.
so if you see at the base especially, it's easy to see.
Yeah, you can almost see the wire there. And the hair is
here.
kind of pulled through and kind of looped around it. I don't know if you can kind of see that detail.
You can see especially like here, some of these loops
Oh,
have
where
gotten
it's
a
been
little bit
pulled out,
loose.
sure. Yeah, hold
And
steady
so,
right there. I'll see if we can get on it. Oh, yeah, there we go.
so these ones have become a little bit loose, but ultimately that's kind of the whole fixture of how they would do this. So they would be doing this in a large scale.
And this is really
stuff.
quite large. It's a couple of feet square, 2 feet square, maybe a little larger than that even.
And then I've got one final artifact connecting to death that we'll show you all before we head out. And this is one of our artifacts that has kind of an interesting history behind it. So, as we progress through the Victorian era, we've got a cabinet of curiosities. And so, in the 1800s, it was pretty common for people to gather and keep strange souvenirs that they received through the different years and to different places. And one of the pieces that we've got in our cabinet of curiosities here is this little wooden handle. And so this handle actually is the handle of a coffin, of the coffin belonging to Governor George Madison. So George Madison was one of Kentucky's shortest serving governors. He was a soldier during the War of 1812, and he was elected in 1816. And when he was basically on his deathbed when he was elected, and so he died very shortly after taking the office. And he was buried and in the Frankfort Cemetery, and then in the middle part of the 1800s, they decided that they were going to reinter him. And when they reinterred him, apparently the handle fell off of his casket, and somebody thought that that would be a good souvenir, and so it was kept separately from the rest of the casket as he was reburied.
So in the beginning, we asked, does your family have any interesting mourning traditions that you would like to share? Please share those in the comment section and let us know. We don't know if it's something maybe regional or maybe an ethnic tradition that might be interesting, maybe strange to some, but something that your family has practiced for a long period of time. And some of these, these practices have changed and evolved over the years. The mourning practices seem very different today. I mean, the idea of like collecting and a family member's hair and making a piece of artwork sounds strange, but I remember, when my child had his first haircut, we kept a little clipping of his hair and kept it in a scrapbook. Kind of the same idea, really.
Yeah, there's all sorts of traditions that we have through time, and as time goes on, I'm sure there's things that we do nowadays that are going to be seen as unique and different in terms of the way that we mourn families members as well. We also have a lot going on here at the Historical Society, and at the Old State Capitol on the 30th, from 7 to 8, we have a Haunted by History tour. So this will go into some more of the notorious darker side of Kentucky's history. We'll talk a little bit more about different examples of some of the items that we have from Mourning, as well as some of the notorious figures in Kentucky's history, especially centered around Frankfort and the Old State Capitol grounds. So tune in, come join us for that, and we'll see you later.
And they can get tickets on our website, right?
Yes, on the website.
That's history.ky.gov. I'll post a link for the tickets in the comment section. So we hope you'll consider joining us for that. And Ashland, the Henry Clay Estate just joined us. And they've got a really great collection of mourning practice items there, too. All right. Well, I think that does it for today. Thank you, James.
Yep. Thank you all for stopping by.
Thank you, folks. And be sure to comment in our in the comment section and let us know about your mourning practices and anything that any questions that you might have. Bye-bye.